Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel today. I'm Kevin, and today we're back to our Second World War topic. Today, our topic is about the death of the German army. So, in the last topic, we already talked about the Battle of Stalingrad, when at first the Stalingrad citizens were despair in starvation and disease, and until the end of the story, they rise up, failing better and making their own roads to give supplies and creating weapons to fight back against the invader, which is the German. So today we will keep going on with the battles between the citizens of Stalingrad, or the start of this battle, and how did it end with the Germany losses and their generals captured into the Soviet Union jar. All right. So the Soviet counterattack came from both north and south of Stalingrad. Since all of the city was rise up, everybody looked for another way to fight against the Germany and also creating their own mental to encourage their fellow warriors to fight even better than what a real army could. And of course, they also have the help of the Soviet official army. So, because of their good mental and their bravery, which was supplied from the weapons and also good food and the hope for victory, the Soviet counterattack is very effective, and they cutting through with ease the Italian and Romanian armies who were defending the territory outside the city. In just less than a week, the Soviet armies met up in the village of Sovietsky, von Paulus, and 250,000 German, Romanian, and Croatian soldiers were surrounded in this place. So von Paulus asked the generals of the armies who hold the Stalingrad city immediately sent a message to Hitler asking for withdrawal. So he said that army heading for a disaster and it is essential to withdraw all our division before we broke out. But while Hitler and his generals discussed about von Paulus's predicament, he met a very bombastic and vain head of the Luftwaffe, Hermann Göring. He convinced that the vast quantities of fuel, food, and supplies that his planes can bring to von Paulus using the airway and give them on their two airfields would be enough for von Paulus and his army to hold on until the end of the war. So von Paulus were told to hold fast, and so they began the agonizing disintegration of his exhausted army. Göring's plans, of course, seems very nice, and that's why Hitler, as a president of a country, decided to agree with it. But in reality, he didn't have enough plans to carry the amount of supplies that he, let's say, promised with his president or with his dictator. And what plans he had were also being taken down and reduced in number every day by the Soviet fighters. Freezing fog also prevent flying, and even on the best day, only half of the supplies that was promised came to the two airfields on von Paulus military places. And because of freezing fog prevent flying and the lack of planes and also the let's say the deletion of Goring plans, that's why the army of von Paulus didn't get enough food to survive and to hold on tight at the home I mean at the front line, sorry. And thousands of badly wounded men awaiting a flight back to Germany instead froze to death in flimsy tents alongside the runways of the military. Hitler ordered one of his best generals, Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, to break through the Soviet force to open up a corridor to keep on supplying to the Sixth Army, which is the army of von Paulus. His force finally attacked from the south on December 12, 1942. While the attack was diverting on the Russian army, von Paulus again asked Hitler to reconsider about his permission asking to withdraw. And of course, he was refused. Hitler is very sure that this time with his own, let's say, okay, with his own lead, the plans will finally come to the place it must be, and therefore he could hold on to that places of territory. And by December 23, it was clear that von Manstein, his best general, had failed. Therefore, the Soviet force surrounding Stalingrad and become stronger. Von Paulus' army was doomed. On Christmas Day alone, nearly 1,300 men died from frostbite, starvation, and other kinds of disease. The Soviet force sensed victories and they harried the Germany mercilessly. In January, they also offered losing with the losing military very generous surrounding terms, and von Paulus' men were roaming the streets, desperately searching for food and warmth. He also had 20,000 wounded soldiers in need of medical attention. But after all, his loyalty to Hitler made him refuse, and so the battle dragged on. With the battle almost over, Hitler, on the other hand, promoted von Paulus to become a rank of field marshal, a field marshal, which means very high ranks on the German military at that time. But there is a very specific point that we need to talk about, that there is never or there is none field marshal has ever been captured before. So Hitler promoted von Paulus to become a field marshal, not to, let's say, not to reward him like you done well, you've done well, now you could rest and let's leave the rest to me. But he is meaning that you are standing for Germany, and Germany don't have the image of losing. You cannot show our losing face. You must stand on my side to the end, and therefore I promote you as a field marshal, because none of those who are field marshal has been captured before. So you, on the other hand, also cannot be captured. And now the only thing you can do not to be captured is to commit suicide. So in summary, Hitler promoted his general to become an official field marshal, to meaning or to make a hint for him that don't surrender, instead commit suicide. So after the hint, von Paulus neither he didn't understand or he don't want to, but he didn't commit suicide. And after that, on January 31, he was captured, and the Sixth Army surrendered finally on February 2. As an accustomed silence fell over the city, the Russian soldiers began to fire captured German signal flare into the sky. So, for an explanation, a signal flare is a gun that instead of shooting out normal bullet, it will shoot out a very big bullet that contains smoke with color, and the normal of them usually is green or red, and those guns was used to shoot out signal on the skies to tell your enemies or your allies that, oh, this place is lost or this place has gained victory, and neither way is to give the information to your army. And this kind of flares has been used not just in Germany but many other countries in the past, and this is explained for the for the gun flares. So the signal flares was used to give information to your allies, and as I said, the Germany military didn't have allies, to send signal too. So they just keep the signal flares, but don't, let's say, don't shoot them onto the sky, and they don't use them. And after the Germany, or the Sixth Army of the German has finally surrendered, the Soviet Union soldiers take all of their signal flares and fire it up to the sky to celebrate their victories. Stalingrad already laid in ruins, 41,000 houses, 300 factories, 113 schools and hospitals, and 99% of Stalingrad city were destroyed after the war between the citizens, their armies against the Germany. But a great Russian victory had been won, and the German defeat at Stalingrad would after be seen as the greatest turning point during the Second World War. Alright, so that's all I want to talk to you guys today about the death of the Sixth Army, which was held back by Hitler and his generals, which is Hermann Goering, but after that, subsequently failed. Alright, so that's all I want to talk to you guys today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And now I think it's time for us to say goodbye then. So, see ya! Bye bye!